The incident regarding Mike Freer, his offices were attacked and in an arson attempt. His staff have to wear protective vests when they attend events. He's now decided enough is enough. He's had so many death threats from a certain demographic. He now considers it not worth standing to retain his defender's seat in the next election. His seat is functionally Golders Green, which is where Margaret Thatcher stood, which is where former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher held that seat. She held that seat for many years. It is one of the safest seats in the country, Tory seats in the country. So he's not standing down because he fears losing it. It's because of the threats. He's pro-Israel in Parliament, and he's been defending the IDF action against Hamas in Gaza. So that's the background to it. This is what the collapse of a state looks like. The collapse of civil society looks like. You are in a sane and reasonable society. This just wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have felt that he has no option but to. He would have felt he had the protection, certainly of the police, of MI5, and that the various agencies of the state, as police and the MI5, would have the ability to root out and prevent such threats. He has no confidence in the ability of the state to prevent those arson attacks and to prevent such escalation by them, that he has to stand down for fear of his life. You are witnessing the takeover. You are living in the takeover, and because the state is so completely and utterly weak, that there is no pushback, and where there is a vacuum, something will always fill a vacuum. This is the political vacuum and power vacuum you're looking at. There is nothing in the state left essentially to defend. There's a vacuum in leadership and actually in all the parties, and as to what values we actually stand for. Therefore we can't defend them, can we? So where there's a vacuum, something will always fill it. You're looking at that filling of that vacuum. It is taking place as we speak. It's been taking place in West Yorkshire. Look at this Batley Grammar School. That was only allowed to happen because there's a vacuum in leadership, a vacuum in power. There's nothing, those in power aren't obviously eager to defend. In fact, we are a secular country where they don't have a de facto blasphemy law, except we obviously do. So we are beyond the stage of being able to vote this out, I'm afraid. And now is a stage where a rather muscular pushback is needed. What that takes is hard to say, isn't it? It's pretty hard to say. And I wouldn't like to speculate. I don't want to get into trouble much. But this is what the collapse of a society represents, where candidates have to stand down for fear of their lives, where schools get bomb threats and they have to close down Leighton School in East London. They have to make a threat to go to online learning only because they can't open the campus because of the threats from that certain demographic. Bomb threats. Same with Michaela School, the threats that they had for refusing to bow down. What I forgot to say before I had any coffee is that Mike Freer's announcement, and he's not going to stand to defend a seat, that will be taken as an indication of a victory by those who made those threats against him and his staff. Same with Batley Grammar School. they're able to do this because there is no pushback by the state. Where there are no boundaries, or where boundaries aren't enforced, more liberties are taken. The same with any relationship, really. So there was no pushback at Michaela School. There was no pushback at Leighton School, that primary school in Leighton, against bomb threats in both cases, because they weren't, shall we say, devout enough, observant enough, or they stood in the way of devout observance. So, let's say with Mike Freer, if he towed the line of that certain section, certain demographic, he and the staff wouldn't have faced these threats. But there is no pushback. So this will be taken as a victory, and it'll lead to further threats, and lead to further MPs feeling that they don't feel safe in continuing in their job, and the same with their staff, and the same with other schools. Other further threats will be made. They rightly see that there is a vacuum, and they are filling that vacuum. There is no authority within the state against them. They see that they are the power that they wish to see in society. The state isn't. What you understand as the state, the apparatus of the state, elected politicians, the government, civil service, Whitehall, local government, or everything else. That's meaningless. So we're not going to be able to solve this through voting. Even a strong, even a change of government safely, but that'll just make things worse again. So how do we solve this? Is it going to be possible to integrate such people? Really? And if not, what do we do? Because it's obviously widespread throughout the country. There was if there was any respect for the states, then Batley Grammar School wouldn't have happened. The incident in Wakefield, where the 14-year-old boy scuffed the holy book, and his mother had to plead for him and the family to be left alone. The police did not tell those leaders that the family will be left alone, or there will be consequences. The police went there as an act of appeasement. Who rules in that situation? Who rules in Batley? Who rules in London? I think we know the answer to that, don't we?